Well, good morning, church. I say good morning, church. It's great to be in 2022, and it's great to be at Portchester Hall. I want to bring you a Happy New Year. I said Happy New Year. I hope you haven't given in to the COVID blues already. You know, we are a Bible church, and I'm just fired up to be with the family. We got to lift up Krista for an incredible communion today, for sharing her heart. You cannot lose your awe for God. You can't take God off. I mean, you can try to take God off the throne, but God is always on the throne. It's just really about our perspective. I so appreciate her helping us to go back to putting God on the throne in our minds right there. Are you with me here? And really standing in awe of God. And of course, we got to lift up Victor for helping us keep the lights on, manage the budget, and call us to sacrifice for the God that sacrificed so much for us. Well, we've got to get into the Word of God today. This is our first sermon for 2022. This is the first message in 2022. This is the first thing God wants you to do in 2022. So I pray you believe in the Spirit. You say, I don't necessarily believe in the Spirit. That's okay. You don't have to believe in what you believe. Because the Bible says in John 17, verse 17, the Word of God is the truth. So the truth is true whether you believe it or not. So for those of you that are unbelievers today, it's okay. You don't have to believe what you believe. I'm calling you to believe the truth today. And the truth is the Bible. The truth is the Spirit right there. I pray the Spirit says something to you today. Now the Spirit's going to say something. I just pray you hear it. Are you with me right here? This is the year of the Spirit. I bring you greetings from Portland, Oregon. My wife and I and my family got a chance to go back there. For those visiting for the first time, we moved here 11 years ago. We sold our house, we sold our car, we sold everything we owned. We came here as literally sold out disciples, sold out and broke. We moved to Camden Town. I don't know who talked me into moving to Camden Town. Online it looked amazing. It was like, it's the Hollywood of England. I got to Camden Town and I was, oh no. I have decided to follow Jesus. I mean, it was a rough first year, but God has moved powerfully. Those 9 faithful disciples have multiplied now. We still have a few that were on the original mission team, Jen Watkins, Hillary Gordine. And yet I got a chance to go back to my hometown, Portland, Oregon. Now, for those that don't know about Portland, Oregon, it is the birthplace of Nike, not Nike. Nike, that's the original right there, okay? Nike, or I'm a Londoner now, so Nike, okay? All right, Nike, okay? I got a chance to go back to Portland, Oregon, and you know, Portland has this incredible tagline. They've got this incredible slogan. It's called, Keep Portland Weird. That's why I moved out of there. Because we know in the kingdom, when something's weird, there's some sin there. You may not know what it is, but if even today, you may be acting a little bit weird right there. You may have some sin in your life. It's okay. We're going to tell you what to do in 2022. So we go back to Portland and I'm getting fired up to be back there. And you know, sadly, there has been such a devastation of a lack of appreciation for the fellow man, for the city itself. Money Magazine rated Portland, Oregon, one of the best cities to live in the entire world. And it's a sad day when I go online to Google my city and I pull up a link and it talks about the death capital of all of America. A place that is pursuing stats that may make it the murder capital of America. Arguably, it's not about keeping Portland weird. Sadly, it's now keep Portland feared. As people are moving out left and right. That's what happens when you're a city that takes God off the throne. That's when you take God off the throne, there's a devastation that could happen, not just to your own personal life, but to that city. But I was so grateful that although there's a devastation that happened in the city, there was a, dare we say, reunion in my family, a spiritual family reunion. I got a great chance to spend time with my daughter. She's in love, and she saw her brother, Michael, who's now taller than me, my son, and her sister and Mia. And, so there was a great connection, and she's agreed that she's going to come to the Global Leadership Conference with us this year. I was going to say next year, but this year. Also had a great time with my younger brother, who's bigger than me. Also had a great time with my older brother, who really just this morning says, I'm in tears since you guys left. I love you so much. He sends his love. He is my older brother right there. You'll see the pictures on Facebook real soon. But thank you, church, for allowing us to go back to Portland and then to come back here to London. We love you very, very, very much. While I was there, I got a chance to thinking about London and being British right there, because I was like, okay, now I'm in America. And all of a sudden, I started having all these things that I'm like, man, I think I'm a Londoner now. I don't know if I'm an American anymore. And I started thinking about, what does it mean to be British? I thought, being British is all about driving a German car to an Irish pub to drink Belgian beer, leaving that pub with your Indian takeaway, to go home to sit on your Swedish couch. And of course, when you're sitting on your Swedish couch, you got to watch your Japanese television. And of course, that Japanese television is only showing American TV shows, all while being suspicious of anything foreign. The definition of what it means to be British. I so love being in London. I love the city of London. I love London. I love the energy. I love the little old lady that pushes you on the tube. I love the guy that drives past you and doesn't let you on. I love all the mix-up. I love London. I hope you love the city God's got you in right here to evangelize. Of course, there's a story of a little boy. His father taught mechanical engineering. Of course, he taught it not only engineering, but he taught it at a really prestigious university. So he knew quite a bit about engineering. And one day, the little boy comes back home and he asks mom. He goes, "Hey, mom, I know Dad teaches about engineering and all, but I just kind of wanted to ask you, what time is it?" And mom wasn't wearing a watch. Plus, she's very busy, and so she goes, "Well, your father's in the living room right there." And the little boy kind of shrugged his shoulders. He goes, "Never mind. I don't want to go in the living room. I don't want to know how to make a watch. I just want to know what time it is." He knew his dad was going to go through all these details, but he wanted to know what was important for him at that time. Today, we're going to get down to what's important. You may be saying, "I don't know all of the Bible," but we're going to talk about what's most important in the Bible. I'm here to tell you what to do in 2022. Now, most people would know the most important thing in the Bible. You say, most people, what kind of people? I'm talking about young people. See, if this was a bunch of Jews, and we're going to look at a scripture written by a Jew to the Jews. If this was a 5-year-old Jew, he would know the most important thing in the scriptures. And of course, I know you know that as spiritual Jews. I know right now you're thinking the most important thing is the Shema, right? That highlights where we are at as a society. Some of you may not even know what Shema means. Of course, Shema comes out of Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. And of course, Exodus 20, verse 3 says, "You shall have no other God before me." But the Shema added something else to that command in the book of Exodus. It added that you got to have some love right there. Not only have no other God, but you can love nothing other than God. God cannot come off of the throne. I hope you believe the word of God. Turn to back Matthew chapter 22. The most important thing to do in 2022. You say, what's the title of the lesson? I just gave it to you. The most important thing to do in 2022. But we got to preach a little bit right there. Amen? Matthew chapter 22. We'll pick it up in verse 21. It says this here in verse 43. It says, therefore, I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken from you and given to a people who will produce its fruit. Right here, Jesus comes to the religious, and he's talking about the kingdom. So I so appreciate Luke giving that insight about the pearl right there. You know, I learned a little bit just from my wife, a deeper insight that pearls, not all oysters produce pearls. The only oysters that produce pearls are the ones that overcome injury. So if you can't overcome injury, taking Jesus off, maybe the kingdom isn't a great pearl for you. Because not all oysters produce pearls right there. That's just what I learned. See, that's what happens when you live in a sold-out fellowship. People want to love God with all their mind. Thank you, sweetheart, for that nugget. Help the sermon right there. It says, it'll be taken and given to a people who will produce its fruit. Now, for all of you who've been around, you go, oh, yeah, I know that's what you're going to tell me. That's the most important thing to do is to produce fruit. That is very important. We'll get to that. But that's not the most important thing to do in 2022. Although he disciples them right here on their lack of living up to potential. You know, if there's one thing I don't want to do in 2022, I don't want to fail to live up to my potential. I want to live up to my potential. I always think about the day when we say pass away. Not that I want to pass away, but at the end of my life. And I always think of this analogy of this that I heard where a guy is laying in his bed, he's going to die. And he's got all these angry eyes standing around him looking at him. And these angry eyes are all the dreams that God has put on his heart his whole life. And as he's dying, the eyes are angry. And they just look at him, and he looks up, and one of the eyes opens and speaks to him, and they say, you're dying, and we must die with you. Only you could give us life. That book, that charity, whatever God called you to do, not living up to your potential. But I said, okay, that's a negative view of that one. How about a positive view? How about all the dreams that God has put on my eye? And at the end of my life, they're smiling at me. They're fired up. The book, the movie, the song, the church, all the things God called me to do, they're so fired up because even though you're dying, we're going to keep living through you. See, right here, Jesus challenges people that did not live up to their potential. I'm so excited about 2022 because you get another shot to live up to your potential for the Lord right there. Amen? Chapter 22. Jesus spoke to them again. Well, who's the them? What's the guys he just got through speaking to? The Pharisees. Says he spoke to them again. This time says in parable saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. Of course, the king would be God, the son would be Jesus. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. You know, when you have a banquet, you're going to have a lot of food. You're going to have a lot of preparation. And right here, the king gets bothered because he has all this food. We know the word of God. The work of God is the food of God. And it goes to waste. It goes to waste. And he's bothered because his food goes to waste. Verse 4. Then he sent some more servants and he said, tell those who have been invited that I prepared my dinner. My oxen, my fattened calf have been butchered and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet. You know, no king would beg you to come to it. It would be an honor just to be invited. No king's going to please come to my banquet. No, not in real life. Highlighting how humble King Jesus is. how awesome he is, that he even invites you, that you even got a chance to come to church today. A spiritual banquet where I hope I can feed you a little bit right there from the word of God. Right here, this king is asking people. Of course, God is asking people. But they paid no attention and went off. One to his field, his own personal life. Another to his business, economic distraction. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army and destroyed those murderers, and he burned their city. Now, some commentators believe that Matthew wrote his account after the burning of Jerusalem, which burned in 70 AD. Now, technically, I don't necessarily believe the book of Matthew was written after 70 AD. It was written before that. But whether it was written before that or after that, it does not matter. That actually did happen. Jerusalem did burn. So either it's foreshadowing, it's saying, hey, things are going to get ugly when you refuse God, when you're called by God. Then the Bible says this here, verse 8. It says, then he said to his servants, the wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not come, deserve to come. Go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find. So the servants went out into the streets, gathered all the people they could find, both good and bad. That's the church right there, right? We got some of you that are good, some of you that are bad, right? More bad than good, I think, amen? And the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes. Friend. I mean, that's a challenging friend. He just says, friend. He says, friend, he asked, how did you get in here without wedding clothes? Of course, in Jewish custom said you got your wedding clothes before the wedding even happened. You got an invitation before the wedding even happened. You couldn't usually get in without the clothes. So what does the Bible say about clothes? Well, the Bible says in Galatians chapter 3:27, clothe yourself with Christ. The Bible also says, clothe yourself with humility. So I don't know what happened, but he got the clothes and didn't put them on. He didn't either have Christ or maybe he wasn't humble. He didn't clothe himself in humility. So what happened? It says the man was speechless. Wow. He didn't dress right for the kingdom of God. He wasn't dressed in Christ, dressed in humility. He didn't have the clothes. And the Bible says he was speechless. I don't want to be at God's wedding banquet speechless. I want to have something to say. Of course, you got to have the right clothes on. You know, we think dressing for church is just putting on the right tie, so on and so forth. No, you got to get dressed spiritually. You got to be dressed. You got to be clothed in Christ. You got to clothe yourself. That means clothes you got to put on. You got to put clothes on. They don't get put on you. When it says clothe yourself in humility, you got to decide to be humble. Humility doesn't pop on you naturally right there. I've learned that. I'm married to my wife. She helps me out with that all the time. I got to put it on. Clothe myself with humility. Let me grab that jacket of humility and put it on right here and just humble myself in the sight of the Lord right there. Are you with me here? Then the king told the attendants, tie him hand and foot, throw him outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. How encouraging is that? The two responses in hell. You're either crying or you're angry. Weeping or gnashing of teeth. What an incredible parable. And so Jesus is laying into them and trying to get them to understand the primary purpose for him coming and what they are to do. He's trying to get them to do something. So he gives another parable, paying of the taxes to Caesar. He gives another one about the marriage of the resurrection. And then we get to the real meat right here in Matthew chapter 22, verse 34. It says, hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees. See, the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection. They were sad, you see. Unspiritual people are sad, you see. And the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with his questions. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, that's emotion, and with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment, and the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets, pretty much the Bible, hang on these two commandments. And the church said, he says you can't do any of the other 613 other commandments that are in the Old Testament. You can't do any of those if you don't love God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. And the church said, that's the most important thing to do in 2022. To love God with all your heart. To love God with all your mind. To love God with all your soul, all your passion, all your emotion. You ever seen somebody who's in love with Arsenal when they wins? They're not like, yeah, they won. No, they're like, yeah, we got to go. Passion, right? The most important thing to do is to love God with all of our heart, with all of our mind in 2022. Point number one, love God with all your mind. Love God with all your mind. That's exactly what this whole thing is. This whole chunk from 34, this really encapsulated what was called the Shema. And every 5-year-old Jewish kid knew about the Shema. They knew the most important thing to do is love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. I wonder if our kids know that. I wonder if they know that the most important thing you could walk out of here deciding to do is to love God with all your heart, all your mind, and with all your soul. I wonder if you believe that's the most important thing to do in 2022. I mean, you could say, well, the most important thing to do in 2022 is to get more Instagram followers. The most important thing to do in 2022 is to get married. And you ain't gonna stay married if you don't love God. The most important thing to do in 2022 is just to relax. So tired. Woo. I won't go into that one right there. But we got to love God with all our heart and with all our mind. I love it right here. It says, hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees then get together. They got to bring some other people together. And it says one of them, an expert in, that means he knew his Bible, tested him. You know what the Greek word for test is? It's parasio. It's the exact same word used in Matthew chapter 4, verse 1, that Satan used to tempt Jesus. See, God tests you because he wants you to succeed. Satan tempts you because he wants you to fail. This guy he wanted Jesus to fail. He wanted him to mess up. And he was an expert in the law. You know, we got a lot of people that know the Bible around the world. They don't want to see Jesus succeed. See, if you don't believe in all of the Bible, you believe in none of the Bible. If you're not willing to follow all of the Bible, you believe in none of the Bible. And if you're not willing to put the love for God as the primary, he's got to be, you got to love God all your heart with all your mind, with all your soul. And it will be tested by God, but that test is for you to succeed. Satan will throw temptations like what was thrown here. These cloaked, veiled threats of just asking some questions. No. You're trying to get Jesus to fail. And so Jesus understood that he was being tempted to fail. I hope this year you understand when Satan's tempting you to fail and God is testing you to succeed. And in verse 36, what's he say? He says, teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? I mean, he tries to disarm God with kind words. Teacher, which is the greatest command? He wanted Jesus to fail. He tried to embarrass him publicly. And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. Jesus has the right to stop right here. He could have stopped right there. He gave him the answer. But Jesus says, no, I got to double down. I got to keep going. I got to help him understand what I'm talking about. And so Jesus adds, and the second is like it, love your neighbor. Now, the word love in the Bible, there's about 4 or 5 words for love in the Bible. I'm sure you know them all, but I'll give them to you again, just in case. The first one is eros. It's where we get the word erotic. Yeah, God doesn't need to go into a bunch of detail in that one right there. That's why it's only in the Bible a couple of times. The second is phileo. That means a friendship type love. The third is storge. That's a family love. It's good to have family love. It's good to have friendship love. And when you're in a married covenant, amen, to God be all the glory. Leave that right there with the eros. Okay. Marriage, you need to be fired up about that. He talked about sex at church. We need to be talking about sex at church. Stop talking about it online right there. Maybe get the right view in 2022 from the scriptures right there. Sex is not bad. Sex was created by God to be shared, a married man and a married woman. But the word he uses right here for love is neither of those three. He goes, the most important thing is not being in erotic love. The most important thing is not being in friendship love. And the most important thing is not family love. It's agape. That's the word he uses right here. The second is like it, love your neighbor. Agape love your neighbor. Not family love your neighbor. Not friendship love your neighbor. Not, hey, is this neighbor my wife? Is this neighbor my husband? No, that one. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's not the most important thing to do. So the most important thing to do is to love God unconditionally. Agape love. What is agape love? Agape love is unconditionally beneficial. It's radically sacrificial. It's long-lasting. It's the highest form of love in the Bible. It's a love that loves while hurt. It's a love that loves while disappointed. He says the most important thing to do is agape love. That's the most important thing for our church, to have an agape love for God in our heart and in our mind, with all of our soul. Mark adds, with all of your strength. Love God with all your mind. The media will tell you certain racial lives matter. The scriptures tell you your mind matters. We understand 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5 says, hey, we demolish strongholds. That scripture says, every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. So we're called to take the scriptures to guide what we think, to destroy speculation. You know, London is full of speculation. It's full of it. Even some of you right now, where's he going? Speculating. Your mind matters. Your mind matters. I believe one of the reasons sin is dominating the world is because I thought about that. We actually we kind of sometimes know how to give all our heart to God. We sometimes know how to give all of our soul, even though I thought we could have done better today, but amen. But do we give all our mind to the worship of God? Do we give all of our mind to the worship of God? And I think absolutely not. Why? Because Christianity has lost its foothold in academia. The most brilliant learning institutions aren't talking about the Bible. Why? We got people that don't love God with all their mind teaching our kids, teaching our students, teaching some of you. Because we haven't loved God with all of our mind. Oh, we love evolution with all of our mind. Oh, we love socialism with all our mind. Oh, we love all these isms and all these isms. How about what God calls evangelism? We've got to love God with all our mind. We got to be the sharpest, most intellectually brilliant people that walk the face of the earth as sold out disciples. We got to love God with our mind. Universities are hotbeds for Marxism, Darwinism, LGBTism. The most brilliant minds are using their mind for all of that. Rubbish. Told you I'm a Londoner now. Rubbish. Rubbish. All false teachings that set themselves up against the knowledge of God. Yeah, I was in America. It was discouraging. Discouraging. Satan has tricked us into getting the most brilliant politicians to put people that are transgender to have teaching moments with the kids. in our schools. I thought it was just like a couple of videos. No, it's all over in Portland. I'm talking to my friends. Yeah, we don't take our kids to school anymore. They have transgender reading hour now. We've legalized drag queens to read children's stories. How soon is it going to come here? How does that get into legislation? Smart people. They use their minds to figure out a way to get this legal. And yet we go, oh, we just got to make disciples on campus. We don't want to. No. No, we need disciples in every sphere of influence on all the face of the earth. We need to use our minds. Why do we need to use our minds? Because we've lost our minds. We lost our mind. We lost our mind. This world is going crazy. I believe disciples should be the smartest. I believe disciples should be the brightest. I believe disciples should be the most talented humans walking this earth using their mind to help people believe in God. Do you love God with all your mind? I mean, I just got to ask you, are you more proud of the university degree or the degree of faith that you have? The world has tricked us. We're like fired up to get a university degree and we don't even know our Bible. Don't even know our Bible. We don't know the scriptures. We don't know the word of God. I don't want a bull deity. I don't want a golden calf to steal your mind in 2022. Western culture has traded in knowledge of the world for knowledge of the word of God. You see it all over Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff. Don't you see it? It's all over this. No knowledge of God. Bright lights, big cities, amusement addiction, triumphant capitalism, pragmatic socialism, overly invasive technology, sending me notification every 2 minutes to worship the idol of Instagram. The falsehood of Facebook. Not everything on Facebook is telling the truth, guys. TikTok used to be the sound of a clock, wasn't it? Not anymore. And yet we forget that the clock is ticking. Time is ticking. You know what it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52? It says, in the twinkling of an eye, the last trumpet will sound. Basically, the world's going to be over. Translation. You don't need Google Translate, Michael Translate. Let me translate it for you. In the twinkling of an eye, the trumpets, that means the world's going to be over. Now, I see some weird stuff preached out there. I cannot lie to you today. There are times I'm like, man, what is going on in the world here? What's going on? Is it going to happen? Is it going to be the twinkling of an eye and everything's over? You know how often your eye twinkles or blinks? 28,000 times a day. 28,000 times. It can be over. It's over. I like to twinkle and be in heaven right there. Now, that kind of happens because I wake up to Michelle every day, so that's awesome. But I want to go to heaven. I don't close my eyes and wake up and be in hell. But God gives us 28,000 times a day to get right with God. You say, I come for the very first time. I don't know anything about Christianity. Yes, you do. You have what's called a conscience. Don't tell me everything you've done in your life you're happy about. The reason you're not happy about it is because God wrote part of the word of God on your heart. It's called your conscience. You don't need to become a Christian to know that looking at pornography is wrong. I know, I used to look at pornography every day. No, don't tell me you feel wonderful about giving into masturbation, sitting in your apartment by yourself. Don't tell me I'm the only guy that did that. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me you feel awesome about being depressed and feeling like everyone hates you and there's nothing, no purpose in life and apathy and just like that, if that's where you're at. Don't tell me these things don't go on in the world that we live in. You don't need to read the Bible to know that this isn't right. I'm not supposed to be living this type of life. Can't imagine Jesus walking around all depressed all day and discouraged. Oh, nobody loves me, everybody hates me. No, it says for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. That's the God that we worship. That's the God we worship. We got to consciously love God with all of our mind. We got to get our head in the game. and love God with all of our mind. Your brain has 5 types of brain waves right now. Some of you have the one I'm going to get to. We're going deep today. We don't have a baptism. I got about 8 more minutes to preach here. Okay, 10, 7, 10. You got 5 types of brain waves in your head. We need to have sold out minds for Christ, amen? The first one is a delta. These are slow waves that are created usually when you're sleeping. You got some delta waves going on in your head. Now, some of you, I hope you didn't fall asleep on me here already. We want to get you out of delta waves in your head, and we want to get you to the awesome one here we're coming to. Some of you have maybe theta waves. These are when you're kind of relaxed. You got some theta waves going on. You know what I mean? Kids go down, theta waves. This one I thought was awesome, alpha waves. I was like, yeah, alpha waves, yeah, alpha waves. These are waves when you're not focused. That's like humbled by God. God was like, you think you're alpha male? No, you're not focused on me. You may not be focused right now. You got those wrong waves going on in your head. Now they're used at a particular time, but not when it comes to loving God with your mind. The fourth is beta waves. These are when you're wide awake and you're alert. So these are good. But you know what kind of waves are produced in your head when you are at optimal peak performance? Gamma waves. Gamma waves. When the human brain is at its best, when it's giving its full capacity of its mind, gamma waves are in your head. You say, well, how are gamma waves produced? How can I get in the gamma brain state in 2022? How can I use all my mind and just get the maximum out of my brain to love the scriptures, to love God? Because we can use our brains to love our problems. We can use our brains to love our issues. We can use our brains to have virtue and victimization. I love my wife's talk. In Christ, in Christ. She's like, no more church. I was like, amen. That was supposed to be for the sisters, but I was listening. I was like, amen. Come on, use my brain right here. Gamma brain waves are the absolute fastest brain waves in your head. They're only produced when you are intensely and deeply set on a purpose. They originate in a tiny part of your brain called the thalamus. The thalamus is located in the center of your brain, and it's just above your spinal column. Dare we say it kind of helps you to stand up right. Your mind can help you to stand up right. Now, the thalamus cranks because it's called by doctors the relay station. It's where everything happens, kind of like the Wi-Fi signal inside your head. It's the gatekeeper for all information. Almost all sensory information, with the exception of smell, comes through this part of your brain. These brain waves go back and forth 40 times a second. Now, to give you an idea how fast these gamma brain waves are that go on in your head when you're giving on your mind, if you've ever seen, I saw a hummingbird in Portland. You ever seen a hummingbird before? You just seen a hummingbird? Their wings are just going like super fast. Hummingbirds are like 45, 50. When you're using your brain at its maximum, that's like hummingbird wing. Like you're using your brain. Is that not awesome? Science says when you're using your brain like that, you're in a gamma wave state. Now, you only can get there unintentionally. Usually. But science has revealed that you can get there intentionally. You say, well, when are you in the gamma wave state? You ever been sitting at the tube station and you're just standing there and you're like, and you're thinking about a situation and you're thinking about maybe it's work and you go, he doesn't really want to promote me. He did that because of this. Or you're thinking about a brother, you go, he wasn't sick. No, he wasn't. That's the 5th time he said that. He just doesn't want to come to church. He didn't have COVID. He's just watching online because he's hiding. You ever done that? You just all of a sudden you get an insight. You just get it. You didn't try to get it. Unintentionally, you're just like, you derelict, you need to get your wife some flowers, man. You haven't gotten your wife flowers for a long time. So I got my wife some flowers today right there, amen. Gamma brave waves, just like, better encourage that lady. She's awesome, man. But science has revealed you can get there intentionally. Because you usually get there unintentionally. And then what happens? You get out of the gamma brain, you get on the train, you take off, and you go right back into beta and theta, all those other brain waves. Okay? The gamma brain wave state, it takes you out of fight or flight mode. It helps you with depression. It's an antidepressant. This is where your brain is at its optimal. Now, you say, well, how do you get there? Well, you got to use what science calls, you got to do two things. Number one, they say you got to meditate. Now, the main scientist that really goes into detail about this, he goes, I went to the Tibetan hills and I sat up there. I go, no, we don't need to go to Tibet. We'll meditate. He goes, you just need to come up with a God that you, no, we're not going to come up with a God. We're doing Jesus Christ here. I'll take your scientific principles and preach the word of God. But you got to meditate. And then you got to use an emotion. Guess what emotions you got to use to get in the gamma brain wave state? Gratitude, compassion, care, and appreciation. You're at your best when you're grateful. Your mind is at its best when you care. Your mind is at its best when you appreciate. Your mind it's at its best when you're grateful. And of course, that means that's really kind of like using your soul. So you love with your mind and you use your soul, you use your emotions, you decide to be grateful, you decide to be compassionate, you decide to care, and your brain is worshiping God with all of its, you're giving all your mind. Do you think London is full of people that appreciate London? Care about London? Compassion for London? How about you? Meditate and use those emotions. You're using your brain at its peak. I want to challenge you on this point. Stop trying to read too much of the Bible. You're not going to get anything out of it. Take a chunk of the Bible, take a chapter a day, and break that thing down. You don't need to read 7 and 8 and 9 chapters. That's a little bit challenging. You do that, you'll miss it. You're not maximizing your Bible reading. Do you dwell on thoughts of God or thoughts of self? Do you dwell on thoughts of God's plan for your life? Gamma brainwave. Do you dwell on God's will for your life? Do you do word studies where you go into the details of the words of the Bible so you can understand what God's saying? How many books have you read on overcoming anxiety? How many books have you read on overcoming depression? How many books have you read on how to get in good physical condition? How many books have you read on parenting that are Christian-based? How many books have you read on evangelism? I gotta ask, are we really loving God with all of our mind? So, bro, I got alcohol, bro. How many books you read on alcoholism? How many scriptures? Have you really taken the time? Now, I gotta be honest. My first book for the year, 2000, you know what? I don't know what it is. The 9th today, is today the 9th or the 8th? It's the 9th. Okay, 9 days in, and I got a few more pages to finish, not my written book, but the first book I read for 2022. How many books did you read last year? I read over 12. How many did you read? Take the issue you got. You know where you're at. How many books did you, how are you trying to, you love being there? You using your brain to stay there, or do you want to worship God with all your mind? This is what's got to change. We got to give all of our mind. Number 2, love God with all your heart. Love God with all your heart. How do we get our hearts unified with our minds? Say, I'm giving all my mind, but there's some stuff going on in my heart. I'm glad you guys want to know that. Thank you. Your body has neurons inside of it. These are cells. Neurons are in 2 separate places. They're in your brain, and of recent, science has found out that not only are neurons in your brain, cells in your brains that help you think, guess where neurons are also in your heart? They're in your heart too. Science has revealed, not only does your brain think, your heart thinks. Now, usually every scientific periodical is all about the neurons in your brain. But in 1991, the year I was graduated, amen, scientists discovered that neurons, neuropeptides as they call them, or cells, are also in the human heart. This is not just a, cowboy scientist, peer-reviewed journal, and it's called neurocardiology. That should give it away right there. The brain, cardiology, the heart, neurocardiology. So it's not just a theory, it's actually a real deal. And they've discovered the same cells in your brain can be the same cells in your heart. Now, when I read this thing, it said they discovered, I go, well, hold on, you didn't discover anything. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9 says there's nothing new under the sun. The Bible, you didn't discover anything. You're just finding out what God already said was there. So science, we need to stop giving science the glory of, science isn't God. God is God. He's the God of science. But since we have sensory neurites in our brain and in our heart, and we know that our heart thinks, sometimes your brain says one thing and your heart says another. This is awesome to learn. It's awesome to add to your faith knowledge, especially when it's in line with what God wants. And he wants us to have a heart for the lost, a heart for the city, a heart for world evangelism. Now, getting the heart and the mind connected. Science calls this heart-brain harmony. Heart-brain coherence. When your heart and your brain are connected. What do you got to do? Once again, be grateful, appreciative, care, and compassion. And meditate. Then you can get your head and your heart. You don't have to be 6 inches from radical. The distance from your head, from your heart. You ever thought something in your head, but your heart's saying something else? You ever thought something in your heart, but your head's saying something else? Remember when you thought that was just you? No, that's the truth. Your heart is actually arguing against. Now, here's a cool thing. Joy doesn't get stored in the human body. It comes out through word. Science says emotions have to come out through words. So joy comes out. That's the reason why we're always trying to be joyful. Because once joy comes into us, it goes out. It's gone. We release it as energy. But you know what science says stays stored, usually in the heart? Trauma. They say, how do you get rid of trauma in the heart or in the brain? Well, you got to release it through a couple of ways. The way the body naturally releases things, sweat or breath. So sometimes you go to work out and you got this bad thing going on in life, you have an exercise and you feel better, you don't know what happened. No, you healed yourself, you're working out. That's why science recommends working out when you're depressed, working out when you've had bad things happen, because it helps you to get it out. It helps you to sweat it out. You release it. But since joy comes into you and then you speak it out, it gets released into the air. We're always fighting to get more joy, but no one's ever said, man, I got to dial this joy back, man. I got too much of this stuff. You never say that. But we always got some bitterness, some other stuff cruising around in our head or our heart. Injuries and all that stuff. And we don't sweat it out, and we definitely don't release that energy by being open so that we can get heart, mind, coherence, and love God with all of our heart and all of our. Let me tell you something. The reason some of you don't love God with all your heart, you got something going on. You got some neural peptides telling you porn is better. You got somebody else at some other church. I've been getting so many calls from other churches. Well, this church did this, church did that. I want to go to your. No, don't come to our church. You go back and apologize and get a good heart about that other church that did you wrong, and come here ready to know about what Jesus has in store for you. Because you're going to bring those injuries in here, and we got enough problems of our own. Now, if you want us to help you with those problems, this is the church for you. We're going to show you what Jesus says about your bitterness. Are you guys following me right here? Our second point is simply, love God with all your heart. Is all your heart in the kingdom? Well, how do we know? You got a heart for the lost. He says, love your neighbor. This year, everybody's got to be fruitful. You got to make a disciple this year. You say, I don't know what a disciple is. If you're visiting for the first time, don't worry. The person that invited you, they'll tell you what it means to be a true disciple, a true Christian. Stands the reason that you probably haven't had a real interaction of what it really means to be a true Christian, not from the Bible standpoint. So whoever invited you, they will share with you how to actually make yourself, how you can become a disciple. But for those of you that are disciples, do you have a heart for, I know you have a mind for the lost, you know you need to do it. Do you have a heart for the lost? A heart for the lost. Every single member has got to be personally fruitful. That's all I want to challenge you. Every single one of you to make a disciple. Everyone. I love our sister. She's deaf. She goes, I want to do the deaf ministry life. Can you imagine if we had someone speaking the word, trying to keep up with me in deaf and doing all of this stuff right there? I mean, we have a deaf ministry, a blind ministry. There's so much work to do. Every member has got to be personally fruitful. I want to put that's got to be one of the most important things for me to do in 2022. I want to help someone I meet to know Christ. We got to have a heart for the lost. We need a heart for campus and singles ministry. Our campus students got to be the most brilliant, bright, distinction-oriented Christians that are walking in London. We can't have she got a distinction. No, all of our disciples got to get distinctions. We got to be the best. We will be, not out of competition, but when we give all of our mind. How did Oxford get created? Christians. You may not have known that. Cambridge was created by Christians. But guess what people that weren't Christians did? They outsmarted us. They took Oxford from us. All the schools out there, you go to Oxford, Christ Church, Christ this, Christ that, and then you read the articles that they won't let you talk about Christ at Christ Church College. But Quabinas, our brother that goes to Oxford, he goes, bro, I'm bringing you out here to preach at Oxford right here. Come out and preach the word on Oxford. We're getting to Oxford right there, and I'm going to preach the word. Amen. We got to have a heart for campus. I said we got to have a heart for campus. I mean, that was a couple of single people that said that right there. How about you campus students? Your example can convert people. We need campus students. We got some awesome ones. We need some more. Look at Jonathan Ho. Can you imagine a female Jonathan Ho? Jennifer Ho? Jonathan and Jennifer Ho. I could see it. Can you imagine another Chris Worth? How about Mrs. Chris Worth? Can you imagine another Shani Brave? I mean, Shani is like crazy. She goes online and tells her whole family, you guys are lost, you're going to hell, you need to become Christians. And they like piranhas chew her up. And she goes, I felt a little bit sad, but I'm better now. Dang, that girl's brave, man. Can you imagine EMC in Germany? We got to baptize more campus students. We need way more campus students. I appreciate Chris Worth. He says, we're going for 100 for the Lord. 100 campus students. Because he's got a heart for the campus. Campus, I want to challenge you. Just be personally fruitful. Make a disciple. And keep him faithful. We need a heart for the singles ministry. Can this year be the year where the singles are the biggest givers? Can this be the year where we get the singles so fired up for the Lord, we got to do a singles retreat in Greece. That's what we're trying to plan on out. But we need some money. And we need singles that want to do great things for God more than just get married, which is a great thing in the eyes of God. But can the singles become the biggest givers? You got to give all your heart and your mind to being the best you, being the best Christian. Can this be the year where the marrieds are the best examples? You look at the marrieds are humbling you with their Bible knowledge, not lack thereof. The marrieds are humbling you with their parenting and their example of excellence, health, fitness. Something that usually only single, and you know why singles only want to be in shape? They just want to be in shape to get married. I've seen people get in shape to get married and then lose their shape. Bro, I'm in shape. Round is a shape. I know it's a shape. I don't want, Michael, you and Michelle. No. No more of that. How about every married? The way you guys are with Michael and Mia. No more of that. No more of that. How about the other marrieds? How about the way other marrieds are with their kids? This has got to be a year for that, guys. We'll be that if we love God with all our heart and all of our mind. We get some coherence going on. Lastly, a heart for the International College of Christian Ministries. Some of you are in the master's program. I want to challenge you. Get your master's this year. I'm going to write the book this year. Don't you worry about that. I'm going to finish my book. I'm working on it. But for those of you that are masters, get your master's this year. Don't say, I'm going to try. Trying is lying. Get your master's. For those that have written me about the bachelor's, probably about 90% of you are going to get into the program. And once you're in, do great. Do great. For the students of you that want to go in, you need to talk to your region leader and then have your region leader talk to me. For the singles that want to go in. See, here's the plan for the singles. We want you to get an awesome life, make a lot of money, help the church grow, and then we're going to call you to give it up and go into the ministry, kind of like me and Michelle did. Then we're going to see if you love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. Are you with me right here? But if you want to go in, you got to talk to your region leader. It is time for us to do great things in 2022. To love God and to love our neighbor. I love you, and to God be all the glory.